What if the most powerful memory-protecting substance on the planet has been sitting in traditional medicine cabinets for over 3,000 years, and the pharmaceutical industry has spent decades making absolutely sure you never heard about it in those terms? What if the very herb that ancient healers in India, China, and the Mediterranean prescribed specifically for mental sharpness, recall, and clarity has now been put through rigorous modern scientific testing, and the results are so compelling that researchers at major universities are calling it one of the most significant natural breakthroughs in brain health of the last 2 decades? And what if your doctor, through no fault of their own, has simply never mentioned it to you, not once, not even when you sat across from them and told them your memory was slipping? Stay with me through this entire video, because what I am about to share with you is not folklore, it is not wishful thinking, and it is not another supplement commercial dressed up as health advice. By the time we reach the end, you are going to know exactly which ancient herb the research is pointing to, what the science actually says about how it works inside an aging brain, why this information has stayed so far outside the mainstream medical conversation for so long, and how you can begin using this knowledge in a safe, practical, and affordable way starting today. I receive messages every single week from people between 60 and 75 who feel like their memory is slowly slipping away from them, and they are terrified because nobody is giving them real answers. This video is for every one of those people, so please, do not click away. What comes next could genuinely change the way you think about your brain. Let me start with the scale of what we are actually facing, because the numbers are sobering, and every person over 60 deserves to hear them clearly. The World Health Organization estimates that worldwide, more than 55 million people are currently living with dementia, and that number is projected to nearly triple by the year 2050. In the United States alone, someone develops Alzheimer's disease every 65 seconds. Every 65 seconds. And yet the amount of money, research, and clinical attention that goes toward prevention and natural intervention, compared to pharmaceutical treatment, is shockingly small. A report published in the journal Lancet Neurology estimated that up to 40% of all dementia cases worldwide could be delayed or even prevented by addressing specific modifiable risk factors, meaning lifestyle and biological factors that are within our power to influence. 40%. That is not a rounding error. That is tens of millions of human beings whose cognitive futures could look dramatically different with the right knowledge and the right action. If you are over 60 and your memory is not what it used to be, you are not simply a victim of biology. You are someone who may have been denied critical information, and that is exactly what I am here to change today. Now let me tell you about the warning that most people over 65 are living with every single day without recognizing it for what it is. It shows up as the word that takes just a beat too long to come. The name of someone you have known for years that suddenly feels just out of reach. The story you started telling and then lost halfway through. The feeling of walking into a room and standing there with a blank sense of why you came. These are not just senior moments, when they start happening with increasing frequency, when they are getting slightly worse rather than staying the same. They are the brain's early distress signals. And what is causing those signals, at the biological level, is a combination of factors that researchers have been studying intensively for the last 20 years. Inflammation building up in brain tissue, the gradual weakening of connections between brain cells, a slowdown in the production of the chemical messengers that carry thoughts, memories, and signals from one part of the brain to another. And here is the part that most people are never told. These processes are not all inevitable. They are not simply locked into your genetic code, beyond reach and beyond influence. Many of them can be slowed, interrupted, and in some cases measurably reversed by specific compounds that act directly on the brain's chemistry. But that is not the worst part of what mainstream medicine has been slow to tell you. The worst part is this. Some of the most powerful of those compounds are not new discoveries sitting in a laboratory waiting for approval. They have been known, used, and documented for centuries. Healers in the Ayurvedic tradition of ancient India used one particular herb specifically to sharpen the mind, improve recall, and protect mental function in older people. It was called Brahmi, known in modern botanical terms as Bacopa monnieri, and it was not used casually or randomly. It was a cornerstone of brain health practice for thousands of years across multiple cultures.
In traditional Chinese medicine, similar properties were attributed to related compounds used in formulas specifically designed for older adults experiencing mental slowdown. And in the Mediterranean, rosemary, which most people today think of purely as a cooking herb, was carried by ancient Greek scholars and hung in study rooms specifically because it was believed to strengthen memory.
These ancient traditions did not have randomized controlled trials, but they had thousands of years of careful human observation. And what is now shocking the scientific community is how precisely modern research is confirming what those ancient healers already knew. Let me tell you what the studies are actually showing. Here is what your doctor is almost certainly not telling you. And I want to be very specific about the science, so you can look this up yourself and verify every word. Bacopa monnieri, that ancient Ayurvedic herb, has now been studied in multiple randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard of scientific evidence. A landmark study published in the journal Neuropsychopharmacology tested Bacopa supplementation in healthy adults over 55 over a 12-week period. The results were remarkable. Participants showed significant improvements in verbal learning, memory acquisition, and the speed at which they could recall information. The placebo group, the people taking a fake pill, showed none of these improvements. This was not a small fringe study. It was peer-reviewed, replicated, and its findings have been cited extensively in the neuroscience literature. Another study conducted by researchers at the Swinburne University of Technology found that Bacopa supplementation improved working memory performance in older adults by a measurable margin within just a few weeks. And critically, the researchers identified the specific mechanism. Bacopa contains active compounds called bacosides, and these bacosides have been shown to support the repair and growth of nerve endings in the brain, the tiny branches that connect brain cells to each other, and that are essential for fast, clear, reliable memory. As we age, these connections naturally thin and weaken. Bacopa appears to directly counteract that process. But the revealed science does not stop with Bacopa. Two other ancient substances have now accumulated serious research backing that deserves your attention. The first is lion's mane mushroom, which has been used in traditional East Asian medicine for centuries and is now the subject of some of the most exciting brain research being published anywhere in the world. A study published in the journal Phytotherapy Research found that older adults with mild cognitive concerns who took lion's mane extract daily for 16 weeks showed significantly improved scores on standard cognitive tests compared to the placebo group. And when they stopped taking it, those scores began to decline again, which tells researchers something very important. This was not a coincidence. The effect was real, measurable, and directly tied to the supplement itself. The mechanism that researchers have identified involves two unique compounds in lion's mane, called haricinones and arenosines, which have been shown to stimulate the production of something called nerve growth factor in the brain. Nerve growth factor is essentially a biological signal that tells your brain cells to survive, to maintain their connections, and to keep functioning. It is something your brain produces less of as you age, and lion's mane appears to turn that production back up. The second additional substance is turmeric, or more specifically the active compound within turmeric called curcumin. This is not news to many people, but what is less well known is the specific research connecting curcumin to brain health in older adults. A study from the University of California, Los Angeles, found that older adults who took a specific form of curcumin daily for 18 months showed a 28% improvement in memory and attention compared to the placebo group. 28%. And brain scans showed measurably less accumulation of the toxic protein deposits most closely associated with Alzheimer's disease in the curcumin group. This is not folk medicine. This is published, peer-reviewed, university-conducted science, and it has been sitting in the research literature, largely ignored by mainstream clinical practice, for years. So let us talk about what you can actually do with all of this information, because knowledge without action is just anxiety. The first thing I want you to understand is that none of these three substances, Bacopa monnieri, lion's mane mushroom, and curcumin, are exotic or inaccessible. All three are available in health food stores and reputable online retailers without a prescription, and all three have well-established safety profiles when used at the doses studied in the research. That said, I always encourage people to have a conversation with their doctor before adding any supplement, particularly if they are taking blood thinners or other medications, because some natural compounds do interact with pharmaceuticals. That conversation is worth having. But it is a conversation you initiate from a position of knowledge, not one where you wait to be offered information that may never come. When you are looking for Bacopa monnieri, the research doses typically used in the studies I described range from 300 to 450 milligrams of a standardized extract daily. Look for a product that specifies it is standardized to contain bacosides, as that is the active compound. For lion's mane, the studies used doses typically ranging from 500 to 1,000 milligrams of extract daily. And again, look for a product that specifies the extract ratio rather than just raw mushroom powder, as the extract is significantly more potent. For curcumin, the biggest challenge is that plain curcumin from turmeric powder is very poorly absorbed by the body on its own. The research showing the most significant brain benefits used what is called a bioavailable form of curcumin, often combined with piperine, which is a compound from black pepper that dramatically increases absorption. When you are shopping, look specifically for products that mention enhanced bioavailability or piperine on the label. You do not need to start all three at once. In fact, starting one at a time over the course of a few weeks is a smarter approach because it allows you to notice how your body responds to each one individually. Many people begin with Bacopa because the research on memory and recall in older adults is the most directly applicable, and because its effects on verbal memory in particular tend to be among the most noticeable within the first few weeks of consistent use. Consistency is the key word here. None of these compounds work like a painkiller that you feel within an hour. They work the way good nutrition works, by gradually shifting the biological environment of your brain in a direction that supports better function over time. The studies that showed the strongest results were conducted over 12 to 16 weeks of daily use. Give it real time before you judge the results. The secret that I most want you to carry away from this video is this. Your brain is not a fixed object that simply deteriorates on a predetermined schedule. It is a living, responsive, dynamic system that is constantly being shaped by the biological environment you create for it. The ancient healers who used these plants for thousands of years did not have brain scans or randomized trials, but they understood something that modern medicine is only now catching up to. The right plant compounds, taken consistently and thoughtfully, can change the conditions inside an aging brain in ways that meaningfully protect memory, sharpen recall, and slow the processes that lead to decline. That knowledge is yours now. Use it. If this video gave you something real to work with, something you can actually take action on, please share it right now with someone you love who is over 60. You might be giving them back something they thought they had already lost for good. And if you want to keep receiving this kind of deep, honest, research-backed information about your brain and your health, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Because there is so much more to cover, and every single video we make is built around one purpose: giving you the truth your health deserves.